You think that we like that we have this issue?
Yes.
You think we wouldn't prefer if men would stay out of women's sports?
No, I think you guys at Fox like covering it.
Do you think that we created it?
Oh, I think you've manufactured crisis, yeah.
Harry Sisson went on to Tomi Lahren's show, her platform, her audience, for a full debate. And out of all the major issues facing the country, they focused on one: trans athletes. That choice says a lot. This isn't just about policy. It's about priorities. One side sees crisis. The other sees distraction. If you want politics to focus on what really matters, hit subscribe.
Do it together.
Should men play women's sports?
So wait, just to be clear, of all the topics in America right now,
I think it's an important one.
Of housing.
No, Harry, that's not what I asked you about.
No, I'm going to get to it. I'm just making a point broader.
I think it's important.
Okay, great. And I'm happy to engage with you.
Let's do it. Just to be clear, I think it's an important topic.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But what I'm saying to you is, of all the issues we have in the United States right now, housing prices, grocery prices, inflation, global conflict, domestic conflict, ICE, immigration, all these topics, one of the most important to you is men and women's sports.
Sure.
Okay. How many trans athletes are there in the NCAA?
Harry.
Do you know?
I asked you a question.
I know.
Should men play women's sports?
Do you know how many trans athletes are in the NCAA?
Too many. One's too many.
Do you know how many?
One's too many.
How many do you think there are? If you had to ballpark it.
I think one's too many.
But if you had to guess, how many do you think there are?
I'm sure there's probably, let's start at like 10 to 15 maybe.
There's less than 10.
Okay. So I think one's too many though.
Okay.
But I think you would like to see more.
No, I don't care.
You don't care at all?
No, I don't care. And here's why. First of all, there's less than 10. So this is not a widespread issue.
So why do they need to play in the women's sports then?
Well, I'm happy to engage. I'm just happy to get, I'm just making a broader point right now that number one, this is not a big issue.
Okay.
And if there's 10, less than 10 actually.
LGBTQ is not a big issue to you?
No, again, it's just a straw man.
You don't care about LGBTQ?
What are you doing right now? This is crazy straw man. I've not said I do not care about LGBTQ.
You said that there's so few of them, it's not important.
Yeah, in terms of what you're trying to argue, that it's like it's a plague on American society. I care about LGBTQ plus. Obviously, I didn't say
what's the
contrary.
plus, by the way? I never knew what that was.
I mean, there's other identities, whatever.
Like what?
I don't know. You just go down the list. I don't know. Go look it up.
What is the plus? I'm not an expert in this.
Neither am I. I'm not an expert in plus.
But you said the plus.
Yeah, because I know that there are plus.
So you think it's just like a random
Let me just
thing?
get back to the broader point. There's less than 10 in the NCAA.
Okay.
I don't think the government should be legislating on this. I think it should be up to the individual athletic bodies. And here's
Same thing with Title IX. You think that some schools should admit female athletes and some shouldn't?
Title IX in
terms of like women's sports.
Women, what do you mean in terms of admitting?
Okay, so
I'm just not familiar with what you're asking.
What you're saying is that you think that each school or each state should decide?
No, I think each athletic body. So like the NCAA or the NBA or whatever, they should have their own regulations.
So then, do you feel the same thing about how they apply Title IX?
But how are you applying?
I'm saying, like, if you think that each body should decide, would you have a problem if the NCAA said we're not going to do women's sports anymore?
I mean, yeah, I'd have a problem with that. But I mean, are you
should be able to apply
Title IX as like? Are you asking me? Do I want NCAA to take over Title IX in its entirety? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm saying that if you think that each body should be able to decide, because that's what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Then do you think that each body should be able to decide how they're going to honor Title IX?
I mean, so again, what are you specifically
saying? So Title IX was designed to protect and to create a space for women in sport.
Sure. Okay. Right. Yeah. So I think it's fine for the government to be involved in that. But when it comes to these independent bodies, I think in terms of who can compete, it's up to them. I mean, they already have regulations on who can and can't compete. If you're not in college, if you're 30, you can't go back to the NCAA, right? So they have their own regulations. I think it's up to them to figure it out. I don't want politicians figuring it out. I don't think that Republicans or Democrats in Congress have any better sense of this issue than you or I. I think we should leave it up to doctors and the doctors that work in these independent athletic agencies.
What are the doctors going to tell us?
I don't know. Talk to the doctors.
What a woman
We're not doctors. We're not doctors.
Well, I'm not a doctor, but I know what a woman is.
Sure, great. But doctors have far better insight on this.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because every Democrat that I ask about this, they get very upset. And I think they get upset for two reasons. Some of the liberals that I talk to, they get upset because LGBTQ is very emotional for them. So that's one reason that they get upset, because they're very concerned about trans people. So that's one reason they get very upset.
Fair. I think you should
and the second reason, and the second category they think that you fall into, is that they know that it's absurd and they don't want to answer for it.
What's absurd?
Men and women's sports.
No, I've said this time and time again.
Should men be in women's sports,
I've said
Harry?
this time and time again. Well, okay.
Should they?
More nuance. Is the government legislating this, or are you just asking a philosophical question?
I'm asking you in general.
Yeah,
should men play in women's sports?
I just don't care.
You don't care?
No, I don't care at all.
So you don't care about women's sports? You don't care about the integrity of women's sports and spaces?
I don't care about the less than 10 athletes in the NCAA who are trans and want to play sports. Like, you live once. Go play soccer. You want to play soccer? Go play soccer. I don't care. Go play soccer. I genuinely don't care. There are bigger issues in this country to focus on than the less than 10 athletes in the NCAA and these like individual cases in the individual states that Fox News loves to bring up. It's just not a widespread issue.
Do you think that we have to cover men taking accolades, accomplishments, spots, and scholarships
Fox News does
from?
like that, yeah.
You think that we have this issue?
Yes.
You think we wouldn't prefer if men would stay out of women's sports?
No, I think you guys at Fox like covering it.
Do you think that we created it?
Oh, I think you've manufactured crisis, yeah.
Do you think that we said that men should play in women's sports so that we could cover it?
No, I'm not claiming that.
Why are men playing in women's sports?
I mean, I think society has evolved in our understanding of gender and sex, and we have new medication that changes people's hormones and things like that make them more aligned with their desired. What?
You're in favor of that?
Hormone therapy?
Yeah.
The same hormone therapy we've had for 30 years before this?
So you think that children should be taking puberty blockers?
Children were already taking this before anything involving trans.
Here's the scene. On her own show, Tomi Lahren sets up the debate with a sharp, narrow frame. She tells her audience there are only two ways Democrats respond to trans athletes in sports. Either they are emotionally captive to LGBTQ+ issues, or they secretly know it's absurd and refuse to admit it. That's her framing. Strategic, yes, but also reductive. It ignores reality. Because there's a third option. The one Harry Sisson is emphasizing, and the one I believe too, is this. Most Americans simply don't see this as a national crisis. They see it as a minor, isolated issue, not worthy of the level of outrage being manufactured on Fox News or by MAGA personalities like Tomi Lahren, Scott Jennings, Sean Hannity, or Tucker Carlson. And that's the key insight here. Harry Sisson points out the numbers. In the NCAA, there are fewer than 10 trans athletes competing. And yet, Tomi Lahren insists, one is too many. That's not proportional thinking. That's symbolic outrage turned into spectacle. It's the same logic MAGA figures use when discussing immigrants. Take Lake and Riley, a single example of a crime by someone in the country illegally, and repeat it endlessly as if it represents a systemic epidemic. One incident becomes a moral panic. The difference? Trans athletes are not committing crimes. They are simply competing, trying to pursue their passion for sports, trying to be included in the activities that define childhood and adolescence. Yet, in the MAGA narrative, participation itself becomes framed as a societal threat. And this isn't just about professional or collegiate sports. Look at K-12 education. In Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky, lawmakers wrote legislation targeting a single child, an 8th grader simply trying to play lacrosse and make friends, solely because she was transgender. A child, one student, and they were willing to craft state law to stop her. Think about that. A child's right to participate and belong becomes the centerpiece of a political and cultural firestorm, while real, systemic issues like housing costs, inflation, healthcare access, and educational inequality are largely ignored. That's my grandmother's phrase in action: gag on a gnat and swallow a camel. MAGA fixates on the tiniest irritants and turns them into moral panics, while the true crises of society are sidelined. And here's the contradiction Harry Sisson exposes clearly. Many male MAGA pundits, Scott Jennings, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and others, who are suddenly outraged about protecting women's sports, spent decades mocking women's leagues. The WNBA? Nobody watches it. Women's soccer? Who cares? Women's athletics were dismissed, trivialized, and undervalued. And now, suddenly, they are the sacred standard of fairness. The pattern is clear. Concern appears only when a new politically vulnerable minority enters the frame. Trans people, a small and relatively powerless population, become the perfect target. This is not accidental. It's structural. When one target group is exhausted, the MAGA playbook recycles and finds new ones. And now it's trans athletes. By inflating a handful of competitors into a national crisis, the narrative becomes a cultural wedge, a story designed to distract, to inflame, and to mobilize outrage. Meanwhile, millions of Americans face tangible, measurable challenges every day, and the same pundits barely acknowledge them. Harry Sisson's solution is precise, grounded, and democratic. Let the governing bodies decide. NCAA, NBA, Olympics, professional leagues. Let the doctors and experts who understand sports, health, and fairness set the rules. Leave the politicians out. That's proportionality. That's fairness. that's rational. And it stands in stark contrast to the MAGA strategy of moral panic and manufactured outrage. As you watch this debate, notice the tactics. Notice how outrage is weaponized. Notice the selective focus. 1 child, 10 athletes, amplified as if it defines the nation. And then compare it to what goes ignored. Rising housing costs, inflation, economic insecurity, social inequality. The larger lesson is clear. This isn't just about trans athletes. It's about distraction, about control, and about the politics of fear. And it's exactly what Harry Sisson exposes with calm, reasoned insight. He shows us that fairness, proportionality, and evidence-based decision-making are the real foundations of a functioning democracy. For the vast majority of Americans, this isn't a crisis. But MAGA is trying to make it one, and we need to recognize that, see it clearly, and keep our attention on what truly matters, the real, systemic issues that affect millions, not a symbolic panic affecting a handful.